evening, everybody. Good evening to you, and of course, good evening to Gonzo. You're looking. I know you're trying to be Christmassy, but you're looking a bit like a stripper.
I'll tell you what, Geo. Anything to earn a little bit of extra money over Christmas. No, everybody doesn't know because we've just started rolling. You said to me about 5 seconds before we went live, "Where's your tinsel?" And it was on the floor. So there it is. But it's actually itching me neck, so I'm going to get rid of it. Not because I'm Scrooge or bar humbug. There you go. Lovely.
Happy days. Anyway, how are you on this? It's Tuesday. I keep thinking it's Wednesday because we're doing a cup of tea tonight. It's completely thrown me doing a cup of tea on a Tuesday. But I wanted to do it now because we've got a gap between games. We've got other content coming this week. So how are you anyway?
I'm massively busy. Thank you for asking. I'm just trying to get my work finished up so as I can relax over Christmas, really, so I can get a series of days off in a row. So yeah, just rushing around trying to get all my jobs finished. What about you?
Yeah, much the same really, but I'm not really rushing around. Sort of just ignoring the jobs, thinking I'll leave it till after Christmas. To be honest with you, I've got a slightly different mentality to you there. What do you want to start with tonight? Manager stuff again. Transfer rumours. There's quite a few transfer rumours tonight. Actually, it's started to heat up in the last week or so. Then we've got who's in charge of the transfer rumours, and that's pretty much it. That's the three main topics, and we've got a few other bits and bobs, and we'll be interacting with the live chat, of course.
Oh, let's go with who's in charge of transfers.
Well, if you watched Gonzo's video earlier, you'll know that in the Independent last night there was an article about David Moyes, and in there, snuck in there, it was said about how Jack Sullivan was a technical director. I don't think I've heard that used for a long time, by the way. He was the technical director of transfers. I mean, it made me chuckle. Anyway, I thought that would be interesting. Do you know something? A, I don't believe it for 1 second. I know it's not really true, to be honest with you. But B, there's an underlying message to this, or something's happened since that article came out that just proves something, in my opinion. But I'll get on to that in a second. Remind me of that so I don't forget it. Do you know what's mad, though? I'm not totally against the idea of Jack Sullivan being involved with transfers. Not the negotiations. I don't want him sitting down with the other clubs' technical director of football and saying, let's negotiate. I don't want him doing that. But in terms of identifying players, I'm not that averse to it because he is actually a good judge. Why are you laughing?
I collect World War II memorabilia, and I'm just looking around for a tin hat for you at the moment, mate, to see if it's stashed up on the cupboard up there.
I don't mind having an unpopular opinion, if you like, but there will be some people out there that might agree with me on this. He's not that bad a judge of footballer, even if it's simply, and I mean simply this, if he has heard of someone or he's got his own contacts now, younger contacts as well, who may know of a player in European football, and then he suggests it to, let's call it a transfer committee that we don't really have, but let's pretend we do have one like Liverpool. Then they continue the scouting, and before people say no, just remember what Gonzo said in the video earlier about Issa Diop. That's all I'm gonna say.
Would you like me to speak?
What?
Shall I? Have you finished? Shall I go now?
No, you can have your say. You can mug me off. I don't mind. I'm ready to be mugged off. I don't mind.
I think it's horrendous. I was totally unprepared for you to say that. I don't know if you're just trying to lure me into.
No.
Lure me into a rant.
I'm being serious because there's two players at the club right now that Jack mentioned to the club. Okay, one of them's Diop. You gave that away earlier. Jack mentioned Diop to the club, I believe. I believe Jack was one that said to the club, there's a player called Issa Diop. Then they went and scouted him. Okay, Jack never went over to France and sat there watching Issa Diop and all that. So when all this stuff comes out about Jack being involved in negotiations with Diop, I don't think that's true. But I do think the part that Jack might have been the one that brought his name up at the club. I do believe that might have been true. And there's another player at the club that Jack apparently was the one that brought up. I don't want to say it on air in case it's wrong and also like it's pointless, but I'm pretty sure you know who it is. I'm going to write down the name anyway and show it to you because you watch a different webcam to the other people. But do you not think though we need, I don't want to say a younger approach, but the way the transfer market's going, the way of identifying players and scouting players is going is different, and I do think that having him training and learning isn't the worst idea. That's the other player that he was involved in, if you can read that.
Roberto? Well,
I knew you'd stitch me up.
I tell you what, Gio. I listen. Do I disagree with the concept of somebody doing that job? No. I think the fact that Jack might be involved in it, if that's who's doing our scouting, I think we're in serious trouble. And I'm not saying that he is definitely doing all the scouting. I know what you're saying.
I bet it's a very small cog and a very big wheel, though.
I don't know. I've got a massive mistrust of the whole situation just because I hate the leaks. I hate the. I quite like the leaks at Transfer Rumour Time. I've got something to talk about. I hate the fact that anyone crap was Husilos's and anyone good was someone else's. Anyone crap was Bilic's. Everyone good was Sullivan's. Blah, 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 blah. There's a consistent theme to that. Because quite frankly, I remember at Sullivan, at Birmingham, Sullivan bought a player and his name was Christian Benitez. And he said, again, if you're good enough and refine your Google search enough, you'll do this. But Christian Benitez. David Sullivan said, I have bought this guy. The manager didn't necessarily want him, but I like to have a little play. I like to have a little punt around. And I think it's, he said, I don't buy all the players. I think he might have said, I buy 1 in 20 players, but I do buy them. And I like to go and I like to have a little punt. If they come off, absolutely brilliant. If not, then so be it. And anyway, Christian Benitez, you didn't even know who he was, did you? When I said, well, there you go. That shows you what Christian Benitez did in the game. And
for some reason, the name rings a bell. I'm trying to locate the player in my mind, but it's not.
Little fella, actually, very, very quick, actually. But and anyway, the point is, I just don't think it's the done thing. I don't want it to be done. I see there's a total lack of clarity. I mean, it totally undermines bringing in a technical director anyway. We know that the technical director shouldn't have been chosen by Pellegrini. We know that. But I doubt Pellegrini put a gun to anyone's head. And quite frankly, bearing in mind David Sullivan's paying Pellegrini, whatever, depending on what paper you read, between £6 to £10 million a year. He's one of the highest paid managers around. And David Sullivan is the boss. David Sullivan has every right to turn around to Pellegrini during negotiations, say, look, I'll pay you your money. I'll bring in your fitness coach. I'll bring in your assistant manager. I'll bring in all of those. But you are not dictating technical director to me. I'm bringing you in to be part of things. This is my technical director. You'll work with him. That's it. I'm the governor. Full stop. So I would expect everything to be channeled through that technical director. I think and listen, I know Jack is being groomed to be the I don't know. Listen, I'm not convinced they're going to keep the club anyway.
Either am I, but we have to assume. I think we do have to assume he is.
It's being groomed. So yeah. He's done. And actually, I quite like this. I quite like he's worked in the ticket office. He's worked in the media department. Basically, Jack went on an apprenticeship and spent, 6 weeks, 2 months in every department in the club, learning the club top to bottom. Not only do I think that's a good idea in a football club, I think it's a good idea in a shop.
And for a youngster.
And for a youngster, I think whatever you do, if you are the manager, you should know every small job about that shop or about that business. I think that's a good thing. What I am, so I think him going to do the women's team is a good learning curve for him. I didn't watch the BBC documentary. Apparently, it was good and he was well received and he came across well. I'm absolutely up with that. But we are a multi-million pounds Premier League team. Sounds ridiculous, doesn't it? £180 million turnover, I believe, last time. We need professional people in to do these types of jobs. Just in the same way that I wouldn't want someone coming into my building site who had been half trained, having an input, who wasn't really up for the job, who wasn't gas registered, who wasn't, didn't have all these electrical certification. I couldn't have it, and I do worry about the influence of that, and the very fact that he has already been linked with 2 high-profile players. The very fact that a newspaper has leaked it, and then obviously I know what you're going to say afterwards. I won't.
No, I'll let you guess what I'm going to say in a minute. I'm intrigued of what you're going to guess here.
Well, I'm guessing you were going to say the very fact that they decided to retract it and amend it has meant that actually someone's possibly contacted them and said, you need to take that down. no. I don't know if that's what you can say, but in my opinion, as soon as that happened, I thought, hold on a second. If something's totally untrue, you're not sensitive about it. Do you know what I mean? If you turn around to me and say, Gonzo, crikey, look at you, you're about 50 stone at the moment. You look, you're really. I wouldn't even care because clearly I'm not. If you were to turn around and say, oh, Gonzo, you're feeling on top a little bit, I might look in the mirror after and think, oh, crikey, I am a bit. It's falling out, isn't it? You only get sensitive and you get touchy when something is a little bit true. And I think that someone from the club has gone and asked them to correct that. If it was not true, why would they do so? I just think you'd laugh it off and think, it's ridiculous. I'm running the ladies' team. I'm not having anything to do with transfers. I don't like it. I don't like it at all.
The one thing I will say, and I know you don't necessarily mean professional. You said you want someone professional in. I think Jack is professional. I think he's maybe not experienced. I think maybe that's the word you were more trying to say.
I was going for expert, yeah.
I think Jack is very professional. Though I've been impressed by Jack, not just the whole training thing, but the way he's conducted himself. He's made mistakes, with social media and that, but you have to remember he was a young teenager then. I mean, the other side of 16. He's grown up now, and his social media is clean. It's professional. He's running his club professionally as well. You could argue the women's teams ran better than the men's teams. You could. I would generally give you that and say, you know what, I agree with you there. I do actually think it is run better, and you've got to give Jack credit for that. And when Jack's having an input, I think it's a very small, minuscule input, as in, I've heard this player is good, and then he leaves it to the people to go and have a look at that player and judge them for themselves, and they decide to bring him in. The reason it got retracted, I think, is because actually I think Jack is so professional. He doesn't like leaks. I don't think Jack agrees with the leaks and stuff. He just because it's Dave Sullivan's son, it doesn't mean he agrees with what his dad does. If anything, I think Jack learns from what his dad does and thinks, I'm not going to do that because the fans don't like it. I think Jack cares more about the fans than his dad. I genuinely, hand on heart, believe that. I know stuff Jack's done, whether it's funerals and stuff like that, or helping fans out with tickets and stuff. Jack does his best to help people where he can. And I do believe that he cares more about the fan base than what his dad does. And that's why when this came out in the article, I think Jack probably read it and thought, I don't want fans thinking I do this because I don't do this. So I want this removed so people don't get the wrong impression. And the fact it got removed, which to me insinuates two things. One, it's not true. Otherwise, the newspaper would turn around and go, well, we're leaving it in. We know it's true. I think they've almost thrown 50 darts at a dartboard hoping to hit the bullseye. And they've hit the dartboard, but not the bullseye. They're not far away. But I think they've taken a little bit of a guess, or someone's told them a little bit of, it's a bit of Chinese whisper. Someone says, oh, Jack's involved in transfers slightly, and it blows up into Jack is in charge of transfers. It's two completely different things. But what I found interesting was all this stuff that goes on about the manager and Huselos. No one ever contacts a newspaper and says, can you remove that, please? That's not true. They let it, they leave it. They leave it. Dave Sullivan leaves it. The media team leave it. They say Huselos is getting undermined in the press. Let it happen. But as soon as this come up, nope, get that down now. And I just thought, well, this is interesting because then does this make the other stuff true, or do they just not care as much? I don't know. I think it means there's an element of truth, and I think that sort of reveals possibly the source of the information as to let's blame Huselos. I think that sort of leads you up the path a little bit as to who the person leaking the news is.
Jack Sullivan, you're saying?
The Independent, I think, is just like a bit of guesswork, and they've got it slightly wrong. But anyway, that's that. Is there anything else you would like to say on this topic before we move on to what Jack Sullivan may or may not be in charge of?
No. Well, maybe I could probably talk for ages about it. We've got lots to cover, but I do not want it to be true. Put it that way, because I also think. I just think it has to be a director of football or a manager that chooses the players, and if it's not, it's got to be the scouts, because otherwise I think you're gonna get the wrong signings. It's a shame if the piece of paper, people are going to be going mad about that bit of paper now that you flashed up to me. If that bit of paper were true, then it would explain an awful lot. Because it would mean the manager, it would explain why. I've got to watch my words, haven't I? It would explain why the manager has been reticent to do certain things and has struggled to do certain things, because he might be thinking that player, him or her, was not my choice. And I think that brings its own problems.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you on that. But I do think we do have someone in charge of the transfers and stuff, and it's a messy situation. But anyway, let's move on to the transfer rumours. There's been quite a few in the last week or so. It is January in a couple of weeks, I suppose, but it's starting to heat up a little bit. And if you were to read and believe every transfer rumour, you would be mistaking for, assuming we have like a £50 million transfer today, because these players are not cheap. Let's start with the big one. It's a loan deal, though. Luka Jovic, he's unhappy at Real Madrid. Real Madrid are unhappy with him, and the rumours are that he could be allowed to leave on loan, and there's some rumours today suggesting we've already approached them to get him on loan and been told no. If there was a dream signing, now I know you said about you want a Antonio II. This guy is not Antonio II, but it's very much someone that has proven he can work with Sebastian Haller. Is that good enough for you?
No.
No? You wouldn't take Luka Jovic?
No, not under the current circumstances, no. I think I looked at how we played the other day, and Haller was actually, funny enough, occupying a similar sort of spaces that he does. What a great finisher he is. When I look at him play, he reminds me of Robbie Fowler type player. He will snatch a chance that's not there. He takes his shot quickly, very, very quickly, before the defender has time to react. Even if his body position is not in the perfect position, even if he's not in a classic pose that a striker would take before he strikes the ball, he will get anything on it and just nudge it towards goal and score goals. I've seen him score a lot of tap-ins. He is he is a poacher, and I think he's very, very good at it. I also, whilst he's not a donkey, he's not fast.
No.
And I think for us to get him, it would require a complete restructure, because then you're going to have no fast players anywhere. I mean, I can only imagine a team with him and Haller up front, with Yarmolenko wide and whatever Fornals wide. I mean, it's the team just progressively gets slower and slower. Were it to be under a different manager with a different philosophy, I mean, bring him in, absolutely. But for us to bring Jovic in, we're going to have to change so many of the other players as well. Or you're going to have to play Antonio on the right. You're going to have to play Anderson on the left. You're probably going to have to play 4-4-2. And you better get some legs in the central midfield as well to run beyond either of those. So do I rate him? I think he is as natural a finisher as I've seen for a long time, before I get paraphrased in the comments afterwards. You know, I'm not saying he is crap. I think he's really good, but I don't think this is the right thing. So, yeah. Gonzo turns down Ancelotti and Jovic is your headline.
Yeah, I would be all over this one. I've always preferred Jovic to Haller, though you've always preferred Haller to Jovic. So, but combined, they're just fantastic. And you're creating 2/3 of the Frankfurt attack, aren't you? And I'm not saying we could replicate the Frankfurt attack, but I'm pretty sure Antonio could fill in for Rebic. I do think Antonio's got similarities to Rebic, and he's got better qualities than Rebic in some areas, and he's got some not so good qualities as Rebic does. But the answer would be there for Pellegrini for all three of them. The only problem is Frankfurt play with a back three and stuff, and that's obviously then throws the whole rest of the team out the window. But the argument would be, well, if you can then play 4-3-3 somehow, there's your front three ready made for you. I think it would be. You're getting a £60 million player on loan. But
Rebic, you stumbled on it there. Rebic was the athletic one. He was the quickest of the three.
That's why I said Antonio, because he's quick, he's powerful. He would be your guy to play up alongside them, I think. And this is January transfer window. We ain't going to go get. I was actually trying to think when you were doing your video and you were talking about how we need a replacement for Antonio. I was thinking, who is there? I generally can't think of someone like. Now you could get in.
Well, no, you could get. I mean, a Traore, as I mentioned to you, someone what's strong, quick. Traore was the guy, but we missed the boat, didn't we, on that one? There are other players. It doesn't have to be as strong as Antonio. There are numerous players that can pull out wide and do a job. I mean, we're gonna face one of them in our next game in Wilfried Zaha. Now, can we go and get Wilfried Zaha? No, but I'm funny enough. I've talked about Alan Saint-Maximin before he signed for Newcastle as well. I said that was a good player. Funny enough, I mentioned it when it said that that Zaha was going to leave to go to Arsenal. I said that's who they should be looking to get in. There are players out there that can do that sort of job, but and that is it's a stretch because I'm now going to look like I'm comparing Antonio to Thierry Henry, and I'm not, clearly. But it's that ability to play central or pull wide and be effective that we need. So, obviously, clearly, we're not going to get somebody of the calibre of Thierry Henry, but I do believe that there are players out there to do it.
Well, hopefully Jack Sullivan knows of them.
I'll tell you what. In Jack we trust.
Yeah, he better have a word with Usalos or whatever, and get the ball rolling on that one. Another player we've been linked with, which is a bit more exciting for me, but a bit more confusing for me perhaps, is Jayden Bowen of Hull City, one of the leading goal scorers in the Championship. Ticks a lot of the boxes though. He really is one of the top talents. Like a couple of weeks ago when someone said, who would you get? And I said there's 2 in the Championship. Bowen's 1 and then the other one's at QPR. But it's our formation. Like, I would have played him as one of the front 2, probably not. He plays like on the right of a front 3. He's like Mo Salah. I mean, you just compared Antonio to Henry, so I'm going to compare this guy to Salah. Yeah, but that's the type of player he is. But so then if we're going to be playing 4-2, where does he fit? But if we're going to go back to our 4-2-3-1, perfect, let's get him in there. But he deserves a shot in the Premier League, and it's one of those opportunities that if you don't take it, someone else will, and there's always going to be a James Maddison, there's always going to be someone that goes and gets him, takes him in the Premier League, he hits the ground running, and you're standing there looking at him going, why didn't we do that? I think this is the window to go get Bowen. I'll be surprised if he's still at Hull for the rest of the season. If he is, he's going in the summer because he's only got 6 months to go on his contract, but they've got a 1-year clause on it so they can extend him. But he's definitely going in the summer. He won't sign a new deal at Hull. He's too good for Hull City. He knows that. Hull City know that. They're going to need to cash in. Roughly, I don't know, I reckon 20 million, just south of 20 million might get him. What's your thoughts on him?
I don't think there is anyone in the transfer committee, be it David Sullivan, Jack Sullivan, the ostracised Husalos or Pellegrini, who would go down and get a manager, would go down and get a player from the Championship. I've heard too many times when a managerial situation has been up for review, which it has done a lot of times under Sullivan and Gold, that they've turned around and said about a manager, maybe next year. I remember Eddie Howe was mentioned once many moons ago. Well, let's see. It's too early for Eddie Howe. Let's see once he's in the Premier League and see what he can do. Also, I heard the same rumour about Wilder. Let's wait and see if the Premier League see what he can do. And whilst I think, obviously, there has been some success under their stewardship of Antonio and Cresswell in particular coming from the Championship, I just cannot see anyone. I cannot see it being desirable for Sullivan to spend £20 million on a Championship player. I cannot see it being desirable for Pellegrini or Husalos. I don't even think they'd be aware of any of the Championship players. I can't imagine it's somewhere that is particularly scouted. That being said, I do know that Pellegrini sent one of his scouts to a Brentford game relatively recently. I don't know what that's about. I couldn't tell you who plays for him or who doesn't play for him. So, maybe they are watching some players. Yeah,
there's 2 players at Brentford. I think they might be watching. Striker and winger. Anyway, we've been linked with our box-to-box midfielder. Are you happy? We've been linked with 2, but I forgot the name of one. But it's on my phone because someone sent us a question saying you talk about this guy. But the one that I do have written down is Sander Berge of Genk. You're nodding. Do you know him?
I do. I do. I know him. I know of him. Yeah, he's not my mate or anything. He's a good player. He's a good player. He's massive, by the way. He's absolutely huge. And
he did look a bit like Peter Crouch in midfield.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, I mean, he's very versatile. Funny, I was going to say earlier when you said about whatever his name is, Jim Bowen or whatever, can he fit into the system that we play? I do think that's actually something we need to be doing. We need to be buying someone versatile. Antonio's versatile, and I mean, obviously he's fielded occasionally at right back, but he can play on either wing, and in emergency can play up front. I like that. I mean, we've got it with Declan Rice, can play in central midfield, or he can play at centre half. You don't need to run through the whole team, but you get the point. We have some people that can play at number 10 and some people who can also play on the wing. I think what it does when you have versatile players, it does it insulates you against two things. It insulates you in case your current manager wants to change formation, like we've just done. So you take that right winger and Antonio and you put him up front. It also insulates you in terms of changing your manager, because a new guy comes in. If the new guy comes in and wants to switch from 4-4-2 to a 3-5-2, he can say, okay, that's fine, because your fullbacks can play as wingers as well, or so on and so forth. Sander Berge is somebody that, whilst he does play in central defensive midfield, he does get up and down. He can actually shoot a little bit as well, and in fact, he's not dissimilar to Dendoncker in that sense. But also, if need be, if you did move to a 3-5-2, he would have no problem playing as the sweeper in a 3-5-2 in a back three and coming through that way. So, a good player. I mean, whether we could get him is another matter, but that would show. I think that would show a level of scouting. I've got to say that stuff like that impresses me far more than Luka Jovic, which I do consider to be a FIFA or whatever. This requires a little bit of knowledge of the game, you know.
I think Luka Jovic is an opportunity, whereas this Burge guy is, well, like you said, a bit of cleverness, a bit of outfoxing your other teams in the Premier League. Because everyone knows Jovic is available now. It's no secrets on the back pages. It's on all the online websites. Everyone knows about it. But to go get someone that maybe not everybody knows is available or good, takes a little bit of something. So would he tick all your boxes for you then after you've been banging drum for centre midfielder? Would he tick most of the boxes?
Yeah, I mean, he would bring. So there's other players I'll bring in before him, but I wouldn't mind that at all. In fact, I'd be pleasantly surprised if it turned out we were signing him. I thought when we played at the weekends, I wrote down on my my notes, wherever they've gone, that I just thought we were aerially dominant for much of it. We'd be a very, very big team if we brought him in as well. And yeah, I mean, ideally someone slightly quicker, I would like, but he would be a good addition to the squad. He would improve the squad. I've no doubt about that. And he wouldn't break the bank in doing so. There are a couple of other midfielders I prefer, but yeah, fine.
I've only seen him once, and it was like this season, Champions League against Liverpool. It's the only time I've seen him play once. Thought he did well, but you can't go by one game, can you? But for those who don't know him, like I am centre midfielder from Genk, as you've gathered, touted at roughly around £21 million at the minute. And he's been tipped to join an elite club. Liverpool have scouted him as well as other clubs, and apparently, if you want to believe the articles, is he actually wants to move to a club like West Ham before moving on to a club like Liverpool. He thinks there's another step in there before he goes on to a top club. So I always say I've got no problem with clubs using this as a stepping stone, because in order to get to Liverpool, you've got to come and you've got to put in 9 out of 10 performances week in, week out, and this is where we turn a £20 million man into a £60-80 million man, cash in, go again, and go get the next guy in for £20-30 million. That's how I always see it anyway.
Oh, I can probably say I heard that Pellegrini doesn't rate him.
Rate who? The
Burge. Not particularly him. I heard that Pellegrini doesn't particularly like bringing players straight over from the Belgium league.
It's a very specific league to rule out, isn't it? There aren't many cases, though. There aren't many cases, to be fair to him, where someone does come from the Belgian league and make it big, if you like. There are probably just as many disappointing transfers, not just the Premier League, other leagues as well. And there's just as much disappointing ones as there are successful ones. I mean, Tielemans was a disappointment going to Monaco. He didn't quite hit the ground there, but he came to Leicester and it's worked out for him. So that was probably the biggest one. You look at Wesley at Villa. He started okay, but he's tailed off a bit. He's probably looking at the Wesley transfer thinking, well, he was one of the top players at Belgium, and he's not doing it over at Aston Villa, is he, in the Premier League? So it's just a funny league to go scouting, I think, Belgium, because there's not enough top clubs, I don't think. If you go to Bundesliga, there's enough. You're playing against a top club every second week. Every second week you're up against a really good team. In Belgium, there's only a handful of them, so it's a bit like the Scottish League, I suppose. Up here, you play for Celtic, you're only playing a couple of hard games a season, and it's difficult to judge. One more transfer, though, and this one's... Oh, no, two, sorry. One that came about late on tonight. We've been linked with a right back at last. Perhaps not good, though. Mankilo. The Newcastle right back.
Oh, I remember that, yeah. Yeah, I wonder why it sounded familiar. Be honest with you, Gio, I can't even picture him. I can't even think of him playing. Actually, I can't. Don't know if he's crap or good.
It's
Crap. Clearly.
he's all right. Like, he's all right. I would take him to replace Fredericks, but I wouldn't take him to improve Fredericks. I don't think he's. I think he's. It was a very meh signing for me. He's almost like a backup, right? But in fact, that's what he is at Newcastle. He's not even a guaranteed starter at Newcastle. Bruce is constantly rotating him and Yedlin all the time because one's good enough for a couple of weeks, then the other one's good enough for a couple of weeks. No. I think it's £5 million because his contract's up in the summer. And I just think, no. There's a reason Everton, Leicester spend £20 million on a fullback, because that's the going rate for a top fullback now. I just think this would almost be... We'll be shuffling along at the same thing, getting him in to replace Zabaleta. I think we need to just go for it with the right back situation this summer. We need to sign a great big £20 million cheque or something, whack, and get a top right back in there. Someone that's going to barge Fredericks out the way, not that someone's going to come in and challenge him. We need someone that comes in and just says, I'm starting, you've got no chance, mate, I'm too good for you. Just like Pereira did it, and just like Chilwell eventually. I know he came through the academy, but he's done it to Christian Fuchs.
Pereira's a great one. 18 million quid. They went and spent big on him. He clearly was one, and he had come with a massive reputation. He was one of the up and coming ones. Funny enough, it was either him or Man City went on to sign, which was Cancelo. They were both considered to be the most up and coming best right backs in Europe. And yeah, you're absolutely right. That's what they did. Bang, come on, we're having you.
Yeah,
I was jealous, very jealous.
And you come, Danny Simpson, you're on the bench, mate. Premier League medal, don't care. Take your place on the bench. We've got the right back now. That's what we need to be doing. Now, the next one is a transfer rumour out, which is potentially a bit of an eyebrow raiser, a bit of a strange one. Balbuena is apparently wanted by AC Milan. The rumours are that they've made contact with his agent about bringing him over to Serie A. How would you feel about that one?
Well, I feel they need to contact us and not his agent.
Yeah, get Jack on the phone.
No, certainly, they need to speak to the man in charge, to the old bat phone, straight to Jack.
WhatsApp him.
Jack, can we have him? He'll turn around and say, yeah, well, I've sniffed this player. Not literally.
But what about the potential transfer, though? I mean,
how much are they willing to pay?
There was no price.
Well, everybody has a price, as you like to say.
They do?
I would.
What's the Gonzo price?
So what do we pay for him? 4 or 5 million?
Yeah, about 4 million. Yeah.
I'd be cheeky. I'd say you can have him for 20.
I think 20 would be my lowest figure, though. I don't think I'd go less than that. I think I'd like to see a bit more than that. I guess the question is, how much is his replacement? Because you want to make a little bit of profit, don't you? Because
I'll change his nickname though. Because I'll change it from the general to the commander, and you get a little bit more money, I think.
I like that idea.
You don't want the corporal, do you? The private.
Yeah, we'll go with something like that. But I think, because we were linked in the summer, we were linked to quite a few centre-backs in the summer, and you did think we were looking for one, because I think we were expecting Diop to maybe go eventually, and the big bin never came in the end. But we've obviously done our business, because we were linked with Konate, who's playing in the Bundesliga, Kamara at Marseille. We were linked to the big centre backs in the summer. One of them was it Kamara? Someone left though. One of the centre backs we were linked with did transfer in the summer. And then we've got this guy Cardoso in the under-23s, and I suppose the question is, well, is he good enough? Does he play?
Do you know if he plays?
He plays for the under-23s, yeah.
All the time, does he?
Yeah, he played last night. They won 4-0 last night. He started that. Ben Johnson, just so those who don't follow the under-23s, bad news. Ben Johnson started last night and went off after 15 minutes with an injury. So, and this leads on to the Crystal Palace game, because Ryan Fredericks is suspended for that game after picking up his 5th caution. So,
Zabaleta against Zaha.
Yeah, but we'll talk about that in the preview. I'm not too fussed by it so far yet. So yeah, Balbuena's AC Milan. I'd be disappointed to see him go, but the only reason I'd be happy to do is sell him is value, because he's sort of after a bit of a shaky start this season, but his value's now gone back up to where it was in the summer, which is around about the 20-25 million pound mark. And B, his age, I think he's 30, 31, so he's not old for a centre back. He's got a couple of years on him. But we could sell him and get in a 23, 24-year-old like Diop for the same money. I think
I think Balbuena's in his late 20s, isn't he? I think he's 27, 28, something like that.
I thought he was older than that. I thought he was.
I think he's in his 20s, mate. I think you've sung a couple of years on him, to be fair.
If he's 27, I would keep him then. But I thought he was 20. I thought we signed him at 29. I thought he was maybe 30 now. Someone will tell us in the live chat in 30 seconds.
Yeah, someone go Google it. Well, I can't.
I thought he was 30.
It took me ages to set my laptop up. I can't switch off this screen now.
So yeah, any more transfer rumours you've seen? There is one more, but I'll get that in a minute. But any more transfer rumours?
No.
A couple of quick news for you then. Fabianski and Lanzini are aiming to be back for the Crystal Palace game, so that will be massive. Obviously Martin went off. Well, he didn't go off. He stayed on the pitch, but he had an injury at the end of the game. So we're sort of waiting to see if how bad that is and if he's unfit. Now, the live chat's funny here because someone said he's 27, someone said he's 28, someone said he's 26 or 27, someone else said he's 28. I think we'll go with the 27. You were right then. Well, if he is that young, I say that young, I'd keep him. I thought he was older than that. The reason I said it, I thought he was 26 when we signed him. Well, this is like his prime years, isn't it? He's not going to get better than this. I think his value is only going to go up in the next 12 months then.
No, but it's hard. But yeah, so I was basing my thoughts on the fact that AC Milan are coming. It's AC Milan playing the San Siro and all the rest of it, and he will want to go. So it's really what price can we get for him, and particularly if he's going to be nice and not kick off and do a Payet or an Arnautovic, for instance, and he just allows the transfer to go through. I think West Ham United are not a big enough club to stop a player going to AC Milan, so it's about getting the best money that you can, particularly bearing in mind Italy is not awash with money. AC Milan are not going to pay £50 million for any centre half, that's for sure.
Yeah, you're right. He's 28. We've got confirmation live chat. 28 years old. Thursday night, we're going to be doing a Talk West Ham. If you want to get involved, there's a couple of spaces left in the call-in show. If you want to get involved, email us, hammerschat@gmail.com. All you need is Skype, audio only. If you don't need to come on and do the video part, we just get your audio into the show and have a little chat with us for 5-10 minutes about your opinion, what you want to talk about. We're going to live chat in a minute. Is there any other topics you want to discuss? Well, we'll talk about the manager for 5 minutes. There's a couple of things I want to say. It's a bit of a funny one, actually, because I don't think he's getting enough credit for the win on Saturday. I've seen a lot of people poo-pooing the fact that we played 4-4-2 and saying that we only played it because Anderson was injured. But I'm not 100% behind that idea, because he could have taken Yarmolenko, he could have put Antonio out wide, but also Antonio's comments after the game were saying about him and Haller have been training up front together and stuff. So if you are going to say that we only played 4-4-2 up front because of the injury, I think you've then got to take Antonio's comments. And my argument would be, well, maybe Pellegrini's wanted to play 4-4-2 earlier in the season, but he couldn't because of Antonio's injury. So I think if you're going to poo-poo one because of an injury, I think you've got to then use the injury card on another one as well. The fire's calmed down a little bit just now, isn't it? The manager talk seems to have gone away a little bit. The Daily Mail was suggesting Saturday night, Sunday morning that he was still going to get the sack, but that seems to have gone, and he's going to be here for the Crystal Palace one. What's your current thoughts on the manager thing?
Well, without repeating myself on that, your point's interesting. I think he definitely played the 4-4-2. I think he planned to do it. I didn't think for a second what you said. It hadn't even occurred to me, actually, that he only played 4-4-2 because Anderson was injured. That didn't occur to me for a second. I was very content that he had arrived at the decision. My criticism comes because he arrived at that decision far too late, weeks too late. The second part of what you said is even more interesting based on that, which is he didn't play 4-4-2 because he didn't have Antonio. Then that is complete mismanagement on somebody's part in terms of the composition of the squad. Because why would you have, if that is how you want to play, it's 4-4-2 with label Antonio how you want, but with one central target man striker and then one buzzing around. Why have you then got a Jetty? Why is not? Surely it's no surprise to anybody that Antonio gets injured. He's not had a single season with us where he hasn't got injured. Antonio will get injured again this season. Okay? It's simple as that. Come and remind me this video if he doesn't, but you won't need to. He will get injured at some point again this season. Antonio will get injured again next season. He just plays in such an attritional way, and he's so committed and athletic that he will always sustain injuries. So that was also another criticism of him. Then, if that's the case, why is your squad not tailored to deal with the fact? Where is the backup to Antonio in that sense? But yeah, I wouldn't. Yeah, I hadn't heard that. To be fair, that he stumbled across it. No, I think he took too late. I think this formation is 8 weeks too late in many respects.
Yeah, sorry, I'm just reaching for my phone for questions. I agree it's late, but I do think that he obviously couldn't play it earlier in the season with no Antonio. But like you said, it does mean that we should have had,
which is Jack's fault.
Bloody Jack Sullivan, eh? Right, the other person that we were linked with, thanks to Tom Chambers, who tweeted both of us earlier and said, "Can you talk about this?" I can't find it. I'm scrolling, but I can't find it.
Sorry, Tom. I've not looked. I've only just switched on the internet. My laptop's been a bit funny. Naughty.
He tweeted it to us earlier. Anyway, we'll just jump onto the YouTube questions. I put up a comment. We're doing a cup of tea. Somebody just kind of left your questions, so we'll rush through this so we can get to the live chat for 5 minutes before we disappear. So we've got another video to record tonight, which is coming out on Friday this week. Daniel was asking who our best manager is this decade, but we're going to do that. We're doing a team of the decade video, and we'll include the manager on that as well. Interesting question. I like this question from Niall Green. Do you think if Pellegrini keeps us up, he will get to finish his 3-year deal, or is he gone in the summer?
I think it depends, Niall. It depends in the manner of him. He's keeping us up. If he keeps us up in 12th, he gets to finish it. If he keeps us up in 16th, possibly doesn't. I think they'll look to do something then. As I've mentioned, the payoff is not as big as some have reported. That being said, there still is a payoff there. They still will have to try and settle 12 months with him. So could they keep him on for another season and not pay that? I'm sure they would choose to do so if he looks like he was improving. And I think he probably will keep us up. But a lot of that does depend on January.
This is what I want to ask you. Because of all this Pellegrini in, Pellegrini out there, and as you know, I'm sort of Pellegrini unsure. I'm still Pellegrini unsure. As for that question, I think he's gone in the summer. I think he will keep us up, but I think there's probably an agreement with either Dyche or Howe. I think one of them has basically said, "I'll come." I'm probably leaning towards Howe because at the minute his contract's up at Bournemouth. He walks for free in the summer. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's almost something there. So all this Pellegrini thing, and people, on Saturday we were having a discussion before, and people were saying, "Oh, I'd get rid of him." And I said, "But who would you bring in?" They said, "Oh, Howe." I said, "Well, that's not happening. Who else?" Dyche. I said, "Well, that's not happening. Who else?" And then they were looking at him, and I said, "No, your option isn't, do you want Howe, Dyche, or Pellegrini? Here's your options. Do you want Pellegrini or Moyes?
Mm-hmm.
Or do you want Pellegrini or Chris Hughton? Do you want Pellegrini or Sam Allardyce? Do you want Pellegrini or Mark Hughes? Do you want Pellegrini or Tony Pulis? Because that's probably your 5 options. I know you're laughing, but as it stands, that's your options. And I think that's why I'm not Pellegrini out, because I look at the ones lined up and I think there's no guarantee we would have won that game on Saturday. We sat Pellegrini Tuesday morning after Arsenal. There's no guarantee that the caretaker or the new manager that comes in, we would have beaten Southampton on Saturday. It's all very well say we would have, and most people say, yeah, anyone could have played 4-4-2 and we would have won. Maybe, but there's no guarantee. And I don't know. So this is why I'm trying to get my point across. You might want Howe and you might want Dyche, but we ain't getting them. We're not getting them mid-season. No chance. Well, I say no chance. Slim chance. Summer, I think there's a completely different thing altogether. So with the questions I gave you, Moyes, Hughton, Pulis, Allardyce and Hughes, would you swap Pellegrini for any of those 5?
No, I wouldn't, but I hate the fact that those are the choices, and that annoys me more than anything. I understand that it might be hard to get Dyche out of his contract. I understand why it might be hard to get Howe out of his contract early, particularly as I do think they're probably honourable people as well. And that I like. I think that's a great character trait, but I don't see why we can't boot Pellegrini out and go and nick Bielsa or something like that. I hate the fact that the thinking is so limited, and that those are the choices, because they are terrible choices, and given that it's like having a plate of crap food. You got to eat something. Do you know what I mean? It's not. you're not upscaling on anything. So possibly I would, but the trouble is, how much do you want to stay up? Because I've got to be fair here. It's easy to look at Moyes with rose-tinted spectacles in terms of him keeping us up. When he came in, he didn't sort of defence out straight away. He was struggling as well, and it took a while. I don't think there's any guarantee that any of those other people keep us up, because it's funny, isn't it? Antonio's back. It looks good.
We've got Fabianski coming back as well.
I was about to say that, and Lanzini's coming back, and we speak. And when I see it, we speak, but I see it reported, and I see people speaking like, regardless of whether you think it will cure all our ills. I don't think everybody suddenly thinks we're going to be a Champions League team. But when you hear people speak about it, it is all spoken with the assumption that none of those will get injured again and nobody else will get injured. The assumption is Lanzini, Fabianski come back, Antonio's there, everybody's fit for the rest of the season, and we can play.
But I think
name your chosen 11. It is quite likely that anyone can get injured, be it Declan Rice, be it Ogbonna, be it Sebastian Haller. Anyone can go, and at West Ham they usually do.
I think we can deal with anyone's injuries but Rice and Fabianski, though. I think, and probably not. I'd probably put Antonio in there as well. Actually, those three players are unreplaceables, if you like. If Balbuena or Ogbonna get injured, we can bring Diop in. You know, it's not the end of the world. Creswell got injured. He's not so good at left back that you're going to suffer. Masuaku's not a great defender, but you'll get by. Fedrich gets injured, you've got Zabaleta and Ben Johnson. But the other ones, Rice, Fabianski and Antonio, I think are so crucial and irreplaceable. But we've had two of them out at the same time, and it's big. I was trying to say to people on Saturday, but like going to Leicester and saying, right, Vardy out, Ndidi out, let's see how you get on. They'll drop points. I think they'll be okay. They'll still stay in the top 6, but they won't be second in the league, for example. And the league this year is just crazy, isn't it? It's really crap, actually. The quality of the league, bar Liverpool and Leicester, the quality from everybody else, and I include Man City in this, has been poor. It's been below standards for everybody, and it's that bonkers that a couple of wins, you could be 10th. We could be going into the new year in 10th. We've got the fixtures are quite generous to us because of this Liverpool no game thing. Palace go up to Newcastle, then they have to come in, and then we play them on Boxing Day and we don't have a game. Then Leicester play Liverpool on Boxing Day, then they play us on the 28th. So Rodgers has already started rotating his team, so he would suggest that he's going to keep his full team for Liverpool, and he might end up rotating one or two against us, and that'll be our second game, so we should be okay. Then by the time we play Bournemouth, that's their 4th game in a week, and it's only our 3rd game in a week. You have to hope you see a little bit of advantage there as well. So it's getting a bit generous for us, assuming everybody stays fit. We've got some questions in the live chat. We'll fly through these because we weren't going to take too much questions tonight because I knew it was a chunky show. We'll get through these, and we need to go record our other one. Gary Page, has anyone seen Jack Wilshere? He's heard of him sometime. No, there's no update on him. Let me just scroll up. Gary Page has also been naughty asking about politics. We're not mentioning politics. Mike was a bad boy for bringing politics up in there in the preview. Bulldog makes a good point here. What do you think of this? He thinks the names that are touted are those put out by David Sullivan, making it look like the better option is to keep Pellegrini and saving the cash.
I would suggest that even though as fans we asked David Sullivan to stop doing interviews, he is still very good at getting information out there without actually saying anything, so it wouldn't surprise me at all. But that is the conspiratorial way of thinking about it. There's a much simpler explanation, and that is look over the course of his club ownership at the managers that he has hired. And I offer you Steve Bruce, I offer you Trevor Francis, I offer you Alex McLeish, I offer you Sam Allardyce. It's completely predictable, and it is more believable, bearing in mind his history, that actually he would want to go for Tony Pulis or Chris Hughton or whoever the case may be. He likes that kind of manager.
Here we go. Thank you, Simon. Simon's brought up the name that Tom tweeted us earlier. Nantes defensive midfielder Toure, £12 million worth.
You said nonce, and I didn't know what you were going to say afterwards. I was going to say, oh my goodness, we don't want any of that at West Ham, or indeed in the Premier League at all. Sorry, what's who is it? What's the player
Toure.
from Nantes? Toure?
Yeah.
Well, there's millions of them.
I don't know. I've never heard of him. I don't know. The French league's the one league I really do not know. We always get stick when we say we don't know players from. I remember last time. Remember last year, Fulham signed him. Who did Fulham get? Fulham signed someone from the French league, right? And this is how bad it is. I can't remember the name after they signed him. But they signed him, and we said we did the video, and we said, well, we don't know him. Someone gave us a long comment about how we need to be researching all these things and watching all these things if we're going to do a YouTube channel. I was like, hang on, mate, I ain't got time to watch French league, just in case we're linked with him.
Yeah, you can't say Toure. It's like it's the French Smith, isn't it? It's like saying, oh, have you seen Smith? You seen Smith? Which Smith?
There's not many Smiths about anymore, is there?
Well, Bournemouth have got two of them, but it's like Dembele, isn't there? What's a Dembele?
Seri. Everyone's saying it was Seri that Fulham signed, and I remember sitting here with you, and we were both like, not sure who he is, and someone generally got pissed off that me and you didn't know who he was. So sorry, mate, because you already get pissed off. We don't know.
What about the time that the Watford fan was annoyed with me because I thought the Watford fans were chanting something, and he told me I needed to do my research and research Watford songs before doing a video. Yes, said. Oh, sorry, excuse me. Beg your pardon.
Lewis says, "What about Cantwell to replace Mark Noble in future?"
Well, I like him. He looks a decent player.
Don't know if he'd replace Noble though. He's a bit too attacking. Cantwell. He's more of like.
I like him though. I like him. He's I'll tell you who he reminds me of when he came through. He's not developed into the player I thought he was. Davis at Everton. When he first came through, and there was a guy called Johnson who was at Man City probably about 10 years ago in the academy. Came through looked really, skinny and dancing through players. Remind me of Alan Clark.
I thought you were talking about Adam Johnson for a second. I thought we've done the nonce thing.
Yeah. But this is the nonce section of the show. It's a new feature. We're going to get a jingle made up and some graphics. No. We do no more noncy business.
What do you mean no more? I've never conducted any.
You started it. What was I talking about? Yeah, so there were. I've got to be mindful about going on to speak about young players now, bearing in mind the context of what we just said. But he looks like a player, Campbell. He looks like a really good player. I like floaters. I call them floaters.
I think Norwich. No, I think
floating. Are you floating number twos?
Yeah, I think we've got a couple of them at the club, haven't we?
We haven't got a false nine. We've got a floating number two.
I think Norwich should be busy in the summer when they get relegated, because I think there's a few of their players that will be wanting to stay in the Premier League. And I think there'll be a few Premier League clubs looking at Norwich players thinking, I'll keep them in the Premier League. Okay, to be fair, three: Aarons, Lewis, and Cantwell. I think will be the three top ones, and there might be another couple that might interest some. But the thing is with Cantwell, he's sort of the type of player that we just don't need. We've got Lanzini, we've got Fornals now, we've got Anderson. It's sort of like, we don't really need one more. This is the problem with 4-4-2, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Fornals and Snodgrass have to start. There's no one else you can play. There's no one else you can play out wide in the midfield. You can't play Yarmolenko there. You can't play Anderson there, in my opinion. I know people say, no, he's good defensively. I don't buy that. I've watched him live too many times where he gives the ball away and just stands still, and I think you can't do that in a wide forward. It only works when you've got Snodgrass and Fornals there. That's why I do think we're going to stump up 40 million quid or something in summer. Dwight McNeil at Burnley might not be bad an option if we're going to stick with 4-4-2. You almost need an old school wide midfielder to make it work. Otherwise, it just won't work. Your width becomes a real weak spot. Not a bad thing. It keeps them coming down the middle of the pitch, which is what they used to do. Last couple of questions. David James, are we suffering massively for selling our whole forward line and only bringing in a Jetty and Aller?
Massively, David.
Sort of alluded to that, haven't we?
Yeah, massively. A absolute lack of foresight from young Jack there.
I just want to say a massive thank you to Doug. Doug's put in £5 to the super chat and says, welcome to Jingle Jangle Hour with Geo and Gonzo.
Thank you, Doug. Well, and welcome yourself to Dinkle Dangle Hour.
And Biscuit Fund is benefit from that. And Fazamania, this is a good question for you. This is a good question for you, Gonzo. Can Pellegrini do anything to keep his job this season, and what would that be? Now I'm going to change that. I'm sorry, Fazamania, I'm going to change that slightly. Can Pellegrini turn you into Pellegrini in, what does he have to do to get you back on the other side of the fence?
Oh, it's so simple. It is so simple.
I know what you always say.
You know what I'm going to say. Everybody knows what I'm going to say. Unless you tune in for the first time. Go to Gillingham. Whatever our best team is at the time. I want to see Haller, I want to see Antonio, I want to see Lanzini, Fabianski and goal. Whatever they want, Declan Rice in there. This is what we do, and we go there and we give it to them. Both barrels, Gillingham. Bang, next round of the cup. And not only do I want that to happen, I want Pellegrini to do what Alan Pardew did, what seems like all those years ago, and turn around and openly state, I am going to try and win the FA Cup. This club, so Alan Pardew's words, this club has been too long without a trophy.
But I agree.
He'd turn me right round straight away.
I think he would turn a lot of people around, you know. I do think he will turn a lot of people around. I think people will almost start to ignore the Premier League games between now and then and say, well, it doesn't really matter. If he's going to go for the cup, this is it, you know. Doesn't quite work like that. Sam Allardyce was on TalkSport earlier. I sent it to Gonzo. I said this is almost as much proof as we're ever going to get. We always know that there's pressure from above not to worry about the cups. And Allardyce sat there on the radio today saying, oh, if you get told by the owners, the board tell you the money is in the league, don't bin the cups off, go for the league. And that's as evidence as you're going to get that Pellegrini will be getting the same message. When the FA Cup comes round, the same message will be getting relayed to Pellegrini, and that is, do not worry about this thing. Make sure you're in that Premier League come May.
And it's probably Jack saying it to him.
Possibly. You never know. But that's, for me, the thing is, I'm going to try. Can I try and inject some positivity? I'm going to try and inject some positivity. It might be, it's just positivity for the sake of it, really. The last 3 away games, Chelsea away, Southampton away, and Wolves away, 6 points. That's a decent haul. It's good. It's good. It's good. The problem is our home form is a bit shit, but we can ignore that until we need to face Leicester at home. But it's going all right. I think the fixtures coming up are tricky, but you know something. I watched Palace last night. I'm a bit more confident than I was before I watched them last night. Let's put it like that. They were awful. Really, they
got so many injuries though. They've almost a whole defence out, haven't they?
You look at it though and you think, we can go there and get some. I think if you took our performance against Southampton, i.e. defensively solid, go there and nick a 1-0 or 2-1 or whatever, and you put that against Palace, I think we'll get there. If we go there and try and win 3-1, I think that's when you get beat. But if we go there and set up to keep a clean sheet first and foremost, I think we'll do all right, you know. But anyways, is there anything else you'd like to add before we go film this other video?
No, I don't think so. No, I can't think there is, mate. No, thank you for everybody for joining us, of course.
As always, drop a like on the video if you enjoy this, guys, new around here. I think we've got quite a lot of videos coming up between now and, well, the next game, and also, because of all the games coming up, we've got a preview and review for every single game, so you're going to have loads and loads and loads of videos coming, so make sure you're subscribed. Gonzo's hinted the other day on Sunday, did his video about us, not changes, but there's stuff coming into Hammers Chat. We're busy behind the scenes, if you like. We're thinking. So we've got that coming up in the new year as well. So we'll catch you in a bit. Cheers for joining us. Ta-da!